So I officially have had my 2022 Kia EV6 Wind all-wheel drive with tech package for 60 days as of today. So I figured, what better time than to kind of give a quick update on just some of the notable features, some of the things I like, some of the things I dislike, and just overall impressions of this car after owning it for a month or so. This isn't going to be just a massive list of things I like and things I dislike. However, it will hopefully help people looking at this car or who own it and maybe disagree or agree with me. So let's get started. There's 100 small and big things I could say that are positive about this car, but what I want to focus on is some of the items that make it stand out, especially for an EV. And I'll start with driving dynamics, my favorite part. This car is quick. That's very relative. A lot of people don't think it is. 4.6 to 4.7 seconds for a 4,000 plus pound car is a blast. The instant torque is a blast. The driving dynamics are sportier than most other EVs from what I've read. And just overall, it just has a really cool hatch feeling that you can throw around. Here you can see I'm doing a little bit of a kind of a hard turning. A lot of body roll, but very comfortable, very good for daily driving, but also a little sporty around big sweeps. And we're going to do a quick 0 to 60. Coming out of corners is so much fun. Going into corners is fun, but coming out with this instant torque, so awesome. Let's do a quick test on one of my favorite features, which is the Highway Drive Assist 1. Alright, we are going to give HDA lane assist and steering assist a shot and see how long it takes on this straight highway for this to notify me. It's very sporadic, so we'll see. Alright, I'm gonna let go now. Still holding strong. Has not asked me to touch the steering wheel just yet. But yeah, so right here you'll see this truck coming up, but you will not see it on my radar here because that would require the HDA2. But I did successfully pass this car without being asked to touch the steering wheel. I think we're coming up on a minute. Notifying me my blind spot, and there's a truck. Oh, there we go, finally. I do want to change lanes, so that works for me. I can only imagine how good this is with HDA2. Buc-ee's, anyone? Buc-ee's? Big fan of Buc-ee's? Okay, well, I think point proven that it does do a really good job on straight highways. Obviously, you don't want to use this in town, but really, really good option. So there it goes, finally. I think that should be it. So hopefully that gives you guys an idea of how good this actually is. The paddle shifters, well, they're not really shifters, they're regen selectors. Basically right down here you'll see the levels, and to me this is one of the coolest things. At first I was kind of like, how many times are you going to use this? I'm obsessed with them. A lot of the times the car starts in level 3 or whatever level you leave it at. It does not ever go to iPedal, which is the 1-foot driving solution. But based on just if I'm in the car with my wife or my kid and I don't want the constant brake jerking or anything like that, I can move the level down, I can move the level up based on my driving. If I want more regen, I can just hit this little paddle right here or right here. To me, that is one of the most genius design features. So let's talk about this awesome drive mode button right here. The easy access to different sport mode and eco mode and normal mode. And obviously I'm in sport mode right now. Super great acceleration. Go back into eco mode, you can see the range drops and goes up a little bit based on what mode you're in. You can also see the gauges change color, and between eco and normal, eco there's very clean lines, no pattern. In normal, it adds kind of like this checkered kind of design, and then sport, everything turns red, and the miles per kilowatt meter turns into a torque meter. But I mean, it's really just a percentage, but just something cool. A lot of people will complain about the roof line being really low. My wife and I are both 5'8". It honestly isn't a problem for us at all. We have never even considered that to be an issue. What I was trying to say is if you're over 5'10", maybe you could probably have a little bit of issue here, but the seats are fairly adjustable. The one thing that I will say is the windshield is very sloped, so it's actually a pretty small visible area, which is another reason I'm glad they didn't go for like a giant kind of iPad look right here. It's pretty streamlined with the lines of the bottom of the windshield. In our last car, we had a Buick Regal Tour X. I would put my arm right here, and my wife's arm would kind of interfere with my arm. So one thing I do like about this is the width of this, but also just how far away this actually is. Really nice space, amount of space. And of course, because this is electric, it doesn't have that little kind of tunnel. So lots of room back here. My kid obviously sits back there. My wife sits really far back, and she still has a lot of room. Moving over here, so let's actually get out of this. We'll go to the Kia. Lots of menus, and it is really bright, so I'm not going to walk through all these menus. There's enough videos out there, but I love the responsiveness. I love the capability of customizing it, and I think just overall it looks really good. So I'm using my wife's iPhone right now to show off the CarPlay. Android Auto does have a couple quirks that I'll talk about on my media section. Media controls and your HVAC controls. I did get these little kind of red mats in for all they call it inserts, I guess. And I have them like basically all around. These are on Amazon. They actually help a lot. I'll talk a little bit about the clunking that happens in this car when you have things sitting in it. All the dials are here. You've got your camera button here, so I can actually turn my cameras on. I do love the cameras on this car. You know, like the images are a little distorted, but it's still pretty good technology. And I just happen to have a white EV6, even though that looks Snow White, I have Glacier White. I do love another premium kind of feature. These are touch, kind of like what you see on some nicer airplanes now, where you touch this and it just turns on. I mean, you can press this to turn both of them on, but individual ones are done like that. And this is how you control the dome light and everything. Overall, I love this interior. It's actually one of the main reasons I picked it over the Ioniq 5, because I didn't like the stock and I didn't like the really white look of the Ioniq 5. And I love this material. I love the layout. I like the kind of clean lines and how everything's kind of driver focused. A lot of the reviews that have been done on this car are on the GT line, which is normal because that is the top of the line. However, there are some shortcomings in my opinion on the GT line versus the Wind. And number one to me is the fact that this does not have gloss black anywhere. Any of the main touch points, there's no gloss black. A little bit on the steering wheel as well, but I kind of forgot about that one. And then the other big part is these buttons up here for the seat cooling and heater and the steering wheel and everything. Those are actual buttons. So like, you're actually getting feedback when you're pressing them, which is different than the GT line, because in the GT line they're capacitive gloss black buttons. I'm not going to beat this one to death. Everybody's talked about this one. The fact that you have the AC control as well as media control all in one, and you press this, really good idea. poor execution because of where the buttons are laid out. So you're constantly touching these capacitive buttons when you're trying to turn volume down. Sometimes I'll reach over, I'll turn the temperature down when I'm trying to turn the volume down. The one kind of thing they did offer is being able to switch this volume button to make it that one. And you have to dig deep into the menus to find that. But now this button actually controls the volume. The cool thing about that is that it's out of the way of all these, but the bad thing I don't like, and a very minor aesthetic thing, is it doesn't actually change the text of the writing. So although that's a volume button, it still says file and tune, and the volume still says it right here. So it is a little confusing. Like, my wife got in, she's like, why is the volume not turning? And I told her I switched it to that one, and she wouldn't have known. I don't understand this and why this change happened. And in most cars, up means that you're skipping to the next track. So right here, if I was going to push up, it's going to the next track. However, on this car, they decided to reverse it. Down means going to the next track, and up means starting the track over or going backwards. This might not seem backwards to some people, but to me, that's very backwards, especially since I have an 18 Stinger, and it does not do that. The only other thing that I'll mention is there's minor things that just look kind of off aesthetically to me, and maybe this is just me being picky. Like that phone, it looks like it's reversed or maybe pointing the wrong way. And then this arrow, I wish it was facing the other way. It's just little things like that that makes it look like some of the buttons were reversed or printed wrong or something like that. And I'm sure they're not, but to me it feels like it. This does not do this on my Stinger. And what I've noticed is anytime I unplug or plug in my phone, my equalizer on Android Auto automatically resets. So if I was to unplug this cable right now, it would go from, right now it says custom. Let me unplug it. It just resets my custom things, my custom settings, I should say. So then when I replug it back in, it goes back. The sound actually doesn't go back. So what I have to do, seeing it right here, I just hit nothing. I just turn the power off and then readjust all my levels. And trust me, the bass needs the help in this car. So I'm really confused about why that happens. Every time I get in the car, I have to go into the equalizer in YouTube Music or just in my phone settings and and I have to basically reset my custom equalizer settings because the sound falls really flat. So if somebody could help me out on how to fix that on my phone, I've tried everything. I've tried turning off all the auto kind of equalizer features that Samsung has and that Android Auto does, but yet it keeps on doing this just in this car, but not on my Stinger. No power steering wheel in a $60,000 car. Pretty frustrating. Lack of fog lights. Why are there no fog lights? Even on the GT line trim, there's no fog light options. Kind of cheap plastic finishes, not really ideal for a $60,000 car. This feels a little cheap as well. Nothing in the center. Like, not, you know, the USB ports are down here, which is actually really cool. But this just looks so empty and, you know, there's nothing there. The vents on the door panels, and I don't mind the location of it. They just don't perform very well. They don't blow very hard, and they also just don't produce a lot of heat. Like, not a lot of air comes back here, whether it's cold or hot. Ambient lighting. I had to make my own. None whatsoever. Extremely blinding light that prevents you from knowing where to plug your charger in, especially in a dark setting. So, some final thoughts. Despite some of its minor quirks, some that can be annoying on a day-to-day basis, I love this car. The look, the driving capabilities, the driving dynamics, and just the amount I've been able to save on gas just owning this car. It is a little pricey,
but do not let dealerships charge you more than MSRP. I would shop around and I would find a good deal. Do not just buy it just because it's there. I do expect a lot of improvements over the next 2 or 3 years as these generations evolve, and I do expect to replace this in the next 3 years, probably with another Kia EV6. Make sure you check out my Instagram. I've got my content for my Miata and my Stinger on there as well. Thanks for watching.